would think that burning all the bridges of all the people who are willing to work with me would be a really poor plan. Not Meghan. No. Where's that match? Where's the gasoline? Because she does not care about whether she can work with people again. In her mind, she's going to be able to get work whenever, wherever, however. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Revenge Review. We are going through Tom Bower's Revenge, and we're doing it as an answer to Spare. We read Spare before this book, and this is the one everyone voted on. They wanted to hear some facts, and so we're going through all of the chapters, and we're getting way more facts than we had out of one chapter of Spare. We're only on chapter 11, and I feel like I've learned so much. One of the things that has come out, I think, really obviously throughout the reading of Revenge is that Meghan, when she was younger, she was described by many people as being empathetic and compassionate, truly looking for ways to help others, really a cheerleader for the underdog. That seems like that's who she was originally. But it also seems like that part of her personality, she has begun to mold and shape, because she found out that when she acted that way, she got a lot of positive attention. Now it feels like she sort of usurped that part of her personality for her own selfish ambition. And one of the things we saw last chapter was when she went to Rwanda to be the face of World Vision's water project. And it was a really disappointing chapter to find out that they even needed a celebrity as the face of their mission. I thought was a waste of money and resources. They can do what they want. It's their money, it's their resources. But it seemed to me, why would you pay to have a minor celebrity when your mission is good enough that if you just tell the story of what you're trying to do in Rwanda, I'm pretty sure that even the most hard-hearted amongst us would be like, oh, how can I give? How can I give? That is a worthy mission. So anyway, she ends up going to work for World Vision as a replacement to the fact that she's no longer with the UN Women, even though she'll continue to say it. That whole trip to Rwanda ended up being a time in which she used it as a fashion shoot. She's seen smiling, a big, smile the whole time with all the children around her. And they're really sweet photos if it had all been so genuine. Unfortunately, to those who witnessed it, at least to those who weren't too busy being sycophants the whole time, they felt like Meghan had very clearly utilized this village's celebration as a time for her to get lots of accolades as a philanthropist. Now, she did go back home to raise 15,000 Canadian dollars for World Vision. And you know what? Any little bit helps. I'm so glad she raised some money. But I have not read so far in Tom Bower's book that she did anything more than that initial campaign when she got home to show off some watercolor photos that the children had made with their now clean water. So it just feels like she just does a lot of, what can I do to get the credit for being a kind person? Not worried about being a kind person. Fiddly-dee. Never that. But she wants people to believe that she has substance. So whatever she has to do, whatever lame thing she's got to be a part of for a hot second, she'll do. So we're going to see in this chapter all about the more fame she gets, or the more fame that she thinks she should have, the less and less time she has for people. And we're going to see unfold in the rest of these chapters the closer she gets to Harry, because at the end of today, she's about to go on a date with him. Okay, so we're on the cusp of her finally meeting Prince Harry. And you know who's coming back when we do. You're going to see, as she thinks she's getting more important, she's got no time for the people who have helped her, climb the ladder. Her agent in London, who has helped her every step of the way, is going to be thrown under the bus in spectacular fashion. So it's just getting disgusting. But I think one of the things that comes out, and then we'll just get into it because this intro's too long. When I heard that Meghan had been being abusive to staff at the palace, I remember thinking, really? Truly? I mean, it's a bit of an exaggeration. Because I couldn't imagine anybody could be so blatantly uncouth and have managed to make her way into the royal family. Like, that shocked me. I was like, how did somebody not make sure that she didn't get near Harry? Like, why wasn't somebody managing this better? And the fact that she had married him and then we were getting these reports, I just remember thinking, I bet she was a little bit rude. I'm sure that she was like maybe like a little bit abrasive, or maybe like cultural differences, because Americans can sometimes come off as very brash. I thought maybe she didn't know what her tone sounded like. You know, maybe people, you know, didn't like that an American had entered the scene, so they were just ready to misunderstand her tone. I didn't know. But after reading today's reading, I can only imagine what the palace staff was dealing with. Because we're going to be reading today all about her second Reitman's campaign, and it's pretty amazing how rude she's become and how self-involved she's become, and the ego on this woman is unbelievable. And I just don't understand where she gets off, because nothing in her career has scaled the heights so that she would at this point feel like, well, now I can act like this. You know, it's not like she just had this big blockbuster movie. She's not with Harry yet. Nothing in her political life has changed. Nothing in her acting life has changed. The TIG hasn't taken off with like 5 million readers. I don't understand what's happened in her life that would make her feel that she is entitled to these reactions and entitled to treating people like absolute dirt under her feet. And I mean, the ungrateful behavior. Like, I think the thing I wonder about too is, what was her ultimate end here? How is talking to people as though they are nothing supposed to progress your purposes? It seems to me that it just takes a little bit of common sense to go, you know what, I should probably be nice to people so that ultimately I get what I want. I mean, even that's manipulative. I'm not saying that that's what you should go around doing, but that would seem to me the smarter move. Because if I need to get from point A to point B consistently, I would think that burning all the bridges of all the people who are willing to work with me would be a really poor plan. Not for Meghan. No. Where's that match? Where's the gasoline? Because she does not care about whether she can work with people again. In her mind, she's going to be able to get work whenever, wherever, however, you know. And the way she talks to her agents, the way she orders everybody around, it's stunning to me that she thinks that she has the right to treat people like this. Anyway, let's get into the content, because I know you guys are eager. Now, we actually have 2 chapters that we're covering today. We're going to be doing chapter 11, Reitman's, take 2. That's going to blow your socks off, by the way. And then the second chapter we're talking about today, which ends with her manipulation of getting into Harry's world and setting up a date with him, is called Limbo. So there's quite a bit in these next 2 chapters which may feel a little bit redundant, mostly because her behavior all the time is redundant. And I think one of the things that I find so difficult about Meghan is simply that she's a person of so little substance that it gets to be a little bit dull talking about her, because the same sort of episodes continue to come up. In fact, if I was reading a book and the character Meghan was in it, I would lambaste that author for being so reductive of a human being. I'd be like, what in the world is this? What are these stereotypes of like the diva? Like, what is happening? This is like the most boring character of all time. But she is a real person. And I think the thing that I would love is, I would love if the mask could fall off Meghan and somebody could finally sit down with her and just be like, tell us your story and be 100% honest. But I don't think she's capable of that. But what we're getting here on the page is so reductive of a human being. And I'm not saying that's Tom Bowers' fault. He's taking everything he's got and everything she's offered the world thus far. But nobody is this boring. Every single person in the whole world has a story, like a real story, like a really interesting story, if they would be willing to tell it. And unfortunately, she's not willing to tell her story, but she'd be a lot more interesting if she was. All right. So remember, last episode, I had intimated that there was going to be 2 days in Montreal in the spring of 2016 that changed all things. So here we are, March 13th. She's flying to Montreal for the second Reitman's shoot. She's doing it on location at this old restaurant, and the filming has begun, and tension is already out of control. Now, the big problem on this shoot was that the marketing campaign and their idea for the ad was, in Meghan's estimation, way too lame to even consider. Now, we're going to talk about what the original one was and then what the change was. I think the original marketing idea was a little bit 1980s. Like, I think the whole idea of it was a little bit, not very updated. And I think that the director's second idea that he finally pulled together because Meghan wouldn't shut up about doing the first one was superior to the original one. So I'm not going to say that Meghan was completely out in left field thinking that the storyline was a little bit, but, I mean, I would have been complaining about it for this money, but whatever. She had a contract for 8 days' work, and it paid Meghan $202,000 plus 7% royalties. So an increase here. There was a total of $4 million. There was a total of a $4 million budget. It's Canadian dollars, though, so let's remember that. And it was all shaped around Meghan's fashion credibility and was billed as aspirational without being alienating. So that's kind of the brand's attempt here, Let's look nice, but let's not be like so high fashion that nobody would ever consider. The head of marketing described Meghan as the national spokesperson for Reitmans. We wanted someone with a point of view. And Tom Bauer says, and this literally made me laugh out loud, we wanted someone with a point of view, but very soon many of the creative team associated with the campaign were exhausted by Meghan's point of view. And I cannot even blame them. This is the most disastrous filming incident that we've come up against yet. And we've heard before that Meghan was difficult, but we haven't had very many particulars, but we get them on this one. So here's the concept for the ad, and this is what Meghan just could not deal with. Discussions about the commercial's concept or storyline had started in February. The 35-second commercial for the summer campaign was called The Label. Meghan, the creative directors employed by the Tank Agency, and John Grammatico, the film director, disagreed about the concept that ended with Meghan delivering the tagline, "Reitmans, really?" Over several weeks, Meghan had denounced Tank's storyboard, and this is what it was. A handsome man asks Meghan to dance at a party in order to be able to read the label on her dress. Could such a beautiful woman really be wearing a Reitmans dress? And Meghan is like, seriously, that makes no sense. Why? Why would that even be happening? And she said, and these are the words that they credit to her, and I just find these astonishing. It's in quotation marks. But again, nobody had her on film saying this as far as I know. So this is somebody's recollection of what she's saying. And I found this to be stunning. She says, I'm a brash American, and if my name is going to be on something, I'm going to have my say. Now, I can imagine her saying, if my name is going to be on something, I'm going to have my say. But this business about I'm a brash American, could anybody be that obnoxious? Like, who would say that about themselves? I don't know, maybe Meghan, because she doesn't seem like she has a whole lot of self-reflection about what comes out of her mouth. So maybe she really would characterize herself like that in her own statement. But anyway, the problem is that had she had some better ideas, they might have listened to her. But she didn't have any ideas. She just wanted to complain. And she did have one vague idea. She said that maybe they could shoot in a Caribbean location, and she'd like more money in the budget. But as far as what they had planned, hardly. The thing is that, and Meghan also said, she's like, you guys promised a really good ad campaign, and you've lied to Reitmans. This isn't a good campaign. This is lame, and I don't want to work with something that is so dumb. So on the 4th of March, they're trying to film on the 13th. We're roaring up to it. We're on the 4th of March. It's still ferocious debates. They keep fighting back and forth with what she wants, what she's saying she thinks it should be. And again, vague criticisms, no substance, no answers for what would be better. And everything was being rejected by Meghan. She bulldozed her way through and never said a nice word, complained one of the team. No one stood up to her. As the argument reached a climax, Meghan just hung up. I mean, that in and of itself would have been enough for me to be shocked by somebody's behavior. That's the tip of the iceberg, my friends. That evening, John Grammatico, a director known as a professional without an ego, emailed Tank's creative director. He's very kind in his estimation of Meghan's behavior, I will say that. And he's not a sycophant either. It's just that he wants to get the work done. And he understands celebrity, and he understands what needs to be done to work with them. And he said that Meghan's suggestion wasn't completely wrong. Maybe they could redo the storyboard for the commercial. He said the agency kept focusing on the dress and the label, But Meghan wanted the focus to be on herself. And he said, let's be honest, she is the talent, and what talent wants it to be about something other than them? Like, they were hired for their face, for their fame. You know, we need to give her what she wants in order for us to just get through this. He said she needs to be flattered. And we have to stop fighting against the fact that that's what she wants. We know that's what she wants. Let's just do it. Give her what she wants, get through this, and just move on. So this is the second ad campaign, and I think it is a little better. And I think it would have definitely appealed. I think this John guy was a genius. I think he could read Meghan so well, because what he ends up writing and what he ends up presenting would have been the exact message that Meghan would have wanted to put forth. Now listen to this. The solution was to put Meghan in charge because she's beautiful and famous and she's in control. Rather than the man looking at the label, suggested Grammatico. He should be looking at Meghan. Reluctantly, the creative director agreed. So the script was rewritten. Grammatico did it. And his script did have a punch. At the end of their dance, unknown but jealous women watching the dancers try to get a peek at the label on Meghan's stunning dress and are confronted by Meghan. As she turns around on the dance floor, she tells the women with a smile, Reitmans, really? Grammatico's solution was accepted, but the seed of discord had been sown. All right, well, can't you just see Meghan loving that idea? And also, I've watched all these commercials. Meghan comes in walking stunning, and then there's like these two pale, pallid, wan-looking women. And Meghan would have loved being the star, not only of the commercial, but getting to be pitted against other women who she thought were less attractive than herself. This whole thing would have been right up her alley. Well, 1 year after the first campaign, Meghan was less enamored that her brand was attached to Reitmans. Not only was she associated with a down-market label, but their new clothes were decidedly unappealing. In addition, her sense of entitlement had grown. To prove her importance, she demanded additional special treatment. Okay, so here they are. They're trying to film this new ad campaign. They have put her into a room that cost $1,531 a night. It's a suite. It's got a master bedroom, living room, bathroom. It's not good enough. It's not big enough. It's not luxury enough. She insists, said her agent. By her agent, whenever they talk about her agent, her American agent, that's Lori Sales, the one who got her, I guess, who got her this deal in the first place. But remember, we did say that Meghan had sort of got her foot in the door here. But anyway, Lori Sales is the one stuck with being a complete and total monster most of the time to Reitmans. So she comes back. Meghan tells her agent what she wants. Her agent goes and tells Reitmans. She insists, said her agent. The production team resisted. No, costing us $1,500 a night for her to stay there. That's good enough. Oh, no, it's not, says the agent. She wants photographs of the hotel rooms and the rooms assigned to her on the set, shouted her agent. So before she'd even accept, she wanted to see where they were going to put her. Can you imagine? I mean, this is just getting so weird. Then she also insisted that she be registered under an alias. Now, we've seen this before from Meghan. It's just like the same song and dance every time with this girl. It's just getting so dull. Jane Smith is who she wanted to be registered under. And her agent said her identity must be kept secret. Meghan doesn't want to be hassled by the hotel staff and other guests or photographers. Like anybody had ever hassled her a day in her life. And the production team was just shocked. We're in Montreal. Everyone speaks French. Nobody knows Meghan. This is not exactly, where her star shines brightest. And in the event, the hotel refused the request. We're not going to register under an alias. Who's staying here? Meghan? Okay, we'll register as Meghan Markle, but none of this Jane Smith business. And, lo and behold, registered under her own name, and not one paparazzi came knocking. Meghan finally gets to the hotel. Not one thing can she find that meets with her high standards. They had bought, there was beautiful flower arrangements everywhere, bottles of her favorite wine, and this is really stunning to me. They had even laid out for her a special calligraphy pen, carefully laid out on the tables, so that should she want to spend some time on this hobby of hers, should she want to write some notes, she would have a writing utensil to her standard. I thought that was like wildly thoughtful. Yet she criticized everything. Everything. She walked in and she was grossed out by the Tempur-Pedic bathrobe and slippers. This isn't Dior. and I'm not interested in this commercial brand. That's gross. Tempur-Pedic bathrobe, slippers. That's embarrassing for this hotel. And the tea was the wrong blend. I don't drink that. And the green juice was warm. I mean, the whole thing was just, quite frankly, it was just not acceptable. And the fact that they would bring me here so that I could wear this gross robe and drink warm juice was an insult to me. All right, so she finally gets on set at 7:10. Everyone is on pins and needles at her reception. And everybody in the production team, 58 people on this team, have been carefully instructed that they are not to speak to Meghan. There's a few carefully selected individuals who are deemed acceptable enough to speak to Her Royal Highness. But everybody else better shut up. And so, having been given this edict before Meghan's arrival, you can imagine that the staff was not super excited for her to even show up. I mean, maybe excited in the sense of like, what's she gonna do? Like, if she's already wilding out this much and she hasn't even got here, what is she really gonna do when she gets here? So everybody noticed when she walked in, she gave everyone a forced smile, but the whisper across the production team was equally poisonous. She's fake sweet. They could see it. They knew. She had been given 2 hours to have her hair and makeup done. 2 hours. Now, I don't know what's going on any film set, but I'm telling you right now, if you need 2 hours to make yourself presentable, there ain't much anybody can do for you. That's ridiculous. 2 hours? What are you doing in there? What are you making the makeup? You sewing the wig? I mean, what exactly are you doing where you would need 2 hours to get ready? Then last minute, Meghan said she also needed her nails painted, so they were going to need to get somebody up in here to do that. And this poor girl comes in, who's supposed to be doing her hair. Meghan had 2 friends on set, her hairdresser and her makeup artist, who she was friends with. But all these other people, no thank you. And this poor manicurist who had been hustled on to do her nails, hopped in on the conversation that Meghan was having with her hairdresser, and that she was dismissed summarily for even thinking she could join the conversation. According to those involved, Meghan was rude and unpleasant, and the poor manicurist was stunned. There was silence as her nails were finished, and then the manicurist was dismissed. She left the location in tears, and she said later, "This unusual situation caused me stress and it still haunts me." Meghan didn't care. How dare this girl? She's been called in to do my nails, but she's not called in to have a conversation with me. I was talking with Felix and Marco, not you. Can you imagine? Well, I don't understand why Meghan would find this to be a productive way in the world. How could this be helpful for you in life, to go through life like this? Finally, she deigns to get on set. But her hairdresser and Marco had to be basically stitched to her side the whole time. They weren't allowed to leave her side, and she was only nice to them, like openly, super kind to them. Oh my gosh, yes, yes. And then move to everybody else. I mean, it was such a galling difference between how she treated her friends and how she treated those that she considered to be beneath her, who were just workers on the set. Get these peasants away from me. The other thing that was real shocking was that, she's been brought here to wear Reitman's clothes. That's the whole point. It's an ad campaign. And she continued to deride the clothing and said, this is definitely inferior to Chanel. No one claimed it was the same thing. No one, that's the whole point. Because we can't all be wearing Chanel. But why would you come on knowing what you're trying to do here? Knowing the down market value of the clothes, knowing that that's the whole thing, and then being like, it's not Chanel. Yeah, duh. Okay, I mean, like, what are you talking about? It's not Chanel. No one said it was. But this really annoyed people because wouldn't annoy any of us if you had this person on set who was just saying stupid things to just be negative. And it sparked a lot of members of the team to openly mock her behind her back. Like, to each other, they were they were goofing off all kinds behind her back. The attitude on set was deteriorating so quickly. And the team was making fun of her behind her back. She was openly refusing to follow the directions of the director. She kept asking him to change his angle. She kept asking him to do things differently. She was being so difficult, not only in her attitudes with everybody, but even in the way that she would accept direction. They worked for 12 hours that first day. 12 slap hours, and they still didn't get all of the shots that they needed. They had to have 17 shots, and somehow in 12 hours they couldn't get it done. There were two critical shots that still had to be done. Weren't able to do it. The second day, things got noticeably worse. So Meghan had said that there was a pair of suede shoes that she wanted the wardrobe staff to buy. To satisfy another of her demands, the wardrobe staff had bought a pair of expensive Aquazzura beige suede shoes chosen by Meghan to go with this specific outfit. And at her behest, they had purchased these for the wardrobe department, right? Let's bear that in mind. She's over there getting ready, spending her 2 hours to make herself presentable. And from her dressing room, Meghan was heard complaining about the production, the clothes, the style, the script. Everything met with her disapproval and her disdain. In particular, she implied that the marketing director was desperately lacking in fashion sense. The gall. The gall. These people are paying you to be the face of their ad campaign. Why? Why in the world would you disparage the brand openly like this? And that's just, the lack of class and the lack of human decency is stunning. Like, she thinks that she is so high end. Everything's going to be high luxury, high end. But I'm like, start with your own behavior. What good does it do to be dressed in Chanel and Dior? What good does it do to walk around in super expensive shoes and, dripping with diamonds if the way you treat people is trash? Nobody cares the way you look. They care about how you made them feel. So you can come in being the most beautiful person in the world, but, what is this? And the way that you act towards people is the easiest thing you can do to look beautiful. And again, not in a manipulative way, but even if she wanted to use it in a manipulative way, why not go down that path instead? I don't understand. Anyway, not surprisingly, everybody on the crew was over it. 100% over it. They weren't going to deal with this anymore. She thinks that they're stupid. She thinks that they're lame. She thinks that they lack fashion sense. She thinks that they are beneath her in every conceivable way. Let's just speak French. She won't understand us. Let's just speak French. She can be over there in ignorance. We're done. We're not even going to cater to this person anymore. And Meghan was offended. And she took it personally. Quite frankly, as she should have. It was meant as a personal dig. And during the filming, Meghan was asked, what Canadian women inspire you? And she laughed when she asked for examples. And so they told her, and her response was, none of them inspires me. You can't make me say something I don't want or and I don't believe in, so. No woman in Canada would be anything I'd aspire to. What? Like, you couldn't just, of the list of people given, you couldn't have just been like, I really like blank, blank, or blank about that person. No one's saying you have to go embody them. No one's saying you have to, go represent them in the biopic of their life. All it's saying is, which of these people inspire you? It's just, Meghan, why are you so unwilling to be decent? I thought kindness was a non-negotiable. Maybe she's got a different definition of kindness. Is it opposite day every day for Meghan? No one dared to challenge the star except John Grammatico. I don't like the shot, Meghan complained. Initially, her demands for changes to the angles were rejected. But towards the end of the day, Grammatico relented. Whatever, he sighed and obeyed. At the end, they were eyeballing one another. It was a terrible second day of filming. Like, you could not, in your wildest imagination, you could not even imagine somebody acting like this in real life. Like, this sounds like a villain in a movie. Like, were they working with Cruella de Vil? It's shocking that anybody could be like this. But the shock continues when at the end of filming at 7 p.m., she was like jetting out the door. And her agent had already called and been like, she won't stay 1 minute past 7, so don't even think about it. She walks out the door. And Tom Bauer's not ready to get sued, so he says this generous statement. To the surprise of the wardrobe staff, Meghan forgot to leave behind the Aquazzura shoes. Mistakenly, she walked out of the apartment wearing them. That's the last time we'll work together, Gramatico muttered accurately. It was all an accident, was it? The very shoes she requested that they should buy for the photo shoot, she walked out in. Oops, by accident. But she didn't by accident return them either, so, you know. Everyone on staff that day was shocked by her behavior and were quick to say so. They weren't ready to cover for her. It's nice to suffer with you, grumbled one account executive to a cameraman. She's definitely the meanest person I've ever met. Just saying. The third director posted on Facebook. Another female member of the team would be more specific. A longtime fan of Suits and Meghan. That person had looked forward to working with the actress. Instead, I thought she was a bit of a bully, filled with a narcissist entitlement complex that had everyone walking on eggshells, as well as the agency and production teams work around the clock under tremendous stress with no demonstration of appreciation at all. More often than not, sarcastic, condescending, demeaning criticism. That's shocking. And anyone among us, if somebody experienced work with us came away saying that, we would be crushed that that's the way we had come across. First of all, I don't think anyone among us would have ever come across that way, on purpose or by accident. But to know that somebody could finish working with you and that's what they'd have to say, devastating, devastating. And how Meghan thinks she can go through life and that there just won't be any comeuppance for this behavior blows my mind. She truly thinks she has the world bewitched. Well, there's still a third day left to do, and it seemed like it might not even get off the ground because everyone was so tired of what they had experienced with Meghan that it seemed like everything might just fizzle before the ad campaign had even finished shooting. And the president of Reitman's Retail reached out to Lori Sale, met with her in LA. He happened to be where he could meet with her. He met with her at a Los Angeles hotel, and he said to Lori Sale, this is unbelievable. The way she's treating people, the way she's talking about people. She's supposed to be the face of this brand, and she can't be more degrading and scathing in her estimation of Reitman's. And if she's going to be talking like that to us, we're all on this project together, we're all being paid by Reitman's, literally she's bad-mouthing the head of marketing, you know, not to her face, but in the next room, loud enough that that woman can hear her. If this is going to be her tone, if this is going to be the way she functions, I just don't even know if we need to keep working with her. Okay, because she seems like she doesn't even want to fulfill the rest of her contract. That's the vibe we're getting. And if that's how it is, then maybe we need to talk about some way to get out of this. Because we got another day of filming today and it can't go the way it just did. She's off the rails, was the way that they described Meghan. She's off the rails. And it was just a real question mark about whether Meghan would even pull it together enough to film that third day. She had a contract, but it didn't seem like people didn't even know if she was going to show up the next day. That's how bad it had gone first day, second day. So Lori calls Meghan, and she said that kind of behavior will never happen again. You're not going to act like that, okay? Because you've signed a deal with these people. You're working for them. They are paying you. And you're going to show up and you're going to act like a professional. And you're going to stop this diva behavior because you're not going to get any more work because people talk. And in plain language, the agent ordered her client to send handwritten apologies and fulfill her contract and to stop this BS behavior. No apologies were forthcoming. No. Meghan couldn't use that fancy calligraphy pen for anything meaningful. Oh, no. And the thing is, too, when would she have found time to write 58 apology letters? But somehow, I'm not going to apologize, says Meghan. But what needs to happen is I need a completely different team. I had to act that way because of the way other people were acting. So I just can't work with those people anymore. And if you want me to fulfill my contract, I'm going to need to work with other people. Okay? Because it was a hostile environment and I was not going to be pushed around. And if that's a problem, then yeah, I'm not going to fulfill my contract. I'm not going to get pushed around. So either find a different production team or there won't be a third day of filming. I can tell you that. Okay. So they did. They found another production company and another company was employed for the third day filming. Wild behavior. Okay, wild. Unsurprisingly, the fear that Meghan generated made some of the team reluctant to describe their experiences. But some people went another way about it. Remember the director of marketing who had been left in tears because she could hear Meghan talking about what a pathetic sense of style she had and openly talking unkindly about her, left the location in tears on that second day of filming. Yet in her remembrances of Meghan, she describes a completely different scenario. She says that Meghan was excellent and that she thoroughly enjoyed the collaboration and her input was well received. She was kind, she was thoughtful, and she conducted herself as a professional. You know, I can't imagine why this would be this person's remembrance of Meghan. Nobody else had that experience at all. So I don't know if she was just, you know, struck by the celebrity. I don't know if she was afraid that if she said something about Meghan, she would hurt her own career or Meghan would come back in some biting way. I have no idea. But for whatever reason, Meghan struck fear in the heart of everybody who worked with her. People definitely describe their experiences differently than the way that marketing director described them. Now, post-production. Okay, so it's over. They finally pull it off. Everyone's done, thank God. In the post-production of the advertisements, Meghan sent countless comments and demands about changes to the color of her lipstick and her waistline. You guys, I saw an ad of her wearing this dress. I'll include it right here. Does that look like her waistline to you? And I find it very interesting that she'd be so concerned about her waistline, because I imagine that when she finally got around William and Kate, Kate's beautiful willowy figure would have been like a personal affront to her. Anyway, one request that she had was of this photograph of her sitting down with open sandals. And she was particularly worried about what people would say about her feet. She said, "Please fix my feet for me. I get slaughtered online for people picking apart my feet. There's a scar on my left foot, and my right foot isn't the prettiest. There's a long toe, etc. If you can soften that so it doesn't distract from the shot, that would be amazing. Silly, I know, but trust me, ... She's just so wildly insecure. I mean, I guess it would get like really annoying if everybody was always telling you about your ugly feet. What are you going to do about that? And I don't understand, like, I really have never understood the need to pick apart somebody's physical appearance. What can they do about that? You know, what are they going to get, you know, plastic surgery on their feet to appease the masses? Who could care less? You know, anybody wants to say some like negative little comment, it's like, oh, this isn't right. Your eyebrows are wrong. You know, this isn't right. You know, why does your hair look like that? Why is this? Why is that? Okay. What are you going to do about it if I don't fix it? You going to be able to sleep at night? You know, I mean, that would have been my... If somebody doesn't like my feet, that says more about their need than mine, you know? Okay. And I don't, you know, so for Meghan, I mean, I don't know. She has a much bigger online following, so she probably heard that same comment over and over and over and over and over again. So probably she's like, I just can't hear it again. And I can understand that. But it makes me sad for her that looking at those pictures, she felt anxious about the criticism she'd receive over her feet. Like, as a human being, my heart goes out to her in that, because what a sad thing that you'd have to be so worried about that. Please fix my feet. I don't want anybody to say, you know, I have ugly feet. People are mean to each other, and I don't know, like, poor Meghan, really and truly, she's a nightmare, but there's a reason why she's a nightmare, and it does make me wonder, like, why is she this way? You know, without blaming anybody else, why internally is she this way? Why is this the way she reacts to the world? What is she hoping to gain? I don't know. I would just love to peel back the layers and find the true Meghan way, way, way deep down. All right, well, they've got to launch this new campaign, right? Post-production's over. And to launch the new campaign, Reitman's hosted a lunch on 5th of April for fashion journalists. Jessica Mulroney had been invited to this luncheon. And this terrified Meghan. She did not want Jessica to really be any part of her association with Reitman's. Like, get Jessica away from here, you know? This is like this, you know, this is something I just have to do in the underbelly of the fashion world, okay? This isn't really me, and I don't want Jessica to know about it. And she was panicking. She calls Lori Sale, and she's like, I'm so worried because of the table decor and the flowers in the menu. She screamed to her agent, Lori. It's all terrible. What will Jessica Mulroney say? But Sale pointed out that her small audience in Los Angeles had never even heard of Mulroney. So what did it matter what Jessica said? On TV, Mulroney praised Reitman's faux leather leggings and their cashmere blend poncho, so she appeared to be fine with it. that Meghan is really offended at her association with Reitmans, but on the same program that they had, where they were hosting, you know, the same like fashion TV program where Reitmans was involved, Meghan was also promoting clothes manufactured by Forever 21. I don't totally understand exactly what's happening here, because it seems like if you're at a luncheon for Reitmans, I don't know why she's talking about clothes that are manufactured by Forever 21 that she's promoting. But I find it wild that she'd be offended about being associated with Reitmans, but she's going to give a pass to Forever 21. I mean, Forever 21, that was a place in high school where you would buy cheap clothes so that you could, you know, wear them once out, you know, and then you'd wash them once and they'd fall apart. And I just find it wild that she's so offended by things like a Tempur-Pedic robe in a hotel room and it's not Dior. But she's going to, you know, as long as she can line her pockets, she'll shill for Forever 21. Meanwhile, Forever 21 is a company that's been criticized for paying its workers as little as $4 an hour. And with only the average going as high as $7 an hour, they've scored a 2 out of 5 on the ethical labor practices and a 2 out of 5 on efforts to reduce waste. So, I mean, for somebody who cares so much about the environment and also cares so much about a brand, being the face for Forever 21 in any conceptual way is wild. Shocking, shocking, shocking. Okay, well, these commercials definitely continue to propel Reitmans. Before their first ad campaign, their sales had increased by 15%. Now it was 20%. And this definitely helped Meghan to forget her anger, because remember, she's making money, 7% off of all of this. So, forgetting her anger, Meghan spoke about the TV advertisement and the billboards with her face across Canada as life-changing. It's a huge moment, she said. It's a huge moment. Well, yeah, because those commercials are like, there's Meghan Markle. There's Meghan Markle. Is it Meghan Markle? Like, we're supposed to know her. And so, like, you have to know that every time she saw that, it just filled her little heart with glee, because here she could cosplay the reality that she wished had been her life all the time. She wished that she could walk into a restaurant and everybody's like, there's Meghan Markle. There's Meghan Markle. And everybody else in the audience is like, who? Okay, well, that was chapter 11. Now we're on to chapter 12. It's real short, but we have to get through it because this is when she gets on with Harry. In this chapter, we're talking about her continued desire to meet a British man and her continued desire to mingle with the greatest among us. And she had that friendship going with Marcus Anderson, the Soho house manager in Toronto. And both of them, more than anything that they could ever desire, was to mix and mingle with the jet-setting class of the world. No problems, nothing to do but Instagram your food, jump on a private jet, lounge around all day scrolling. I mean, they just had visions of grandeur like you wouldn't believe. Both of them, like, their ultimate quest in life was to find some way to rub elbows with actual celebrities. And that quest was particularly important for Meghan in the spring of 2016. She was preparing to go to London, and her friend Marcus Anderson happened to know Princess Eugenie, the daughter of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. So he said that he would introduce them. And, you know, Eugenie, she enjoys some freebies and some hobnobbing with the rich and famous herself. So for Meghan to befriend Eugenie, that was just going to be yet one more pushing open of the door into this world beyond Meghan's wildest imagination. Now, let's just pause here real quick. Meghan knew Princess Eugenie before she ever knew Harry. That's well established. So she would have known who Eugenie's parents were. I mean, in order for Eugenie to be anybody of importance, it kind of matters who her parents are. So for Meghan in Spare, when they try to paint that ridiculous picture where Meghan walks into the house and there is Prince Andrew and there is the Queen, and she asks if Prince Andrew is the Queen's assistant. Like, what kind of question is that anyway? If you thought he was the assistant, why would you even ask? It's that whole story crumbles when you know that she already knew Eugenie. So she would have known who the parents were, right? We already talked about that when we talked about Spare, but I mean, this is just confirmation, more confirmation. And by the end of this chapter, the fact that Meghan ever tried to say that she never knew Harry is, I mean, that lie was, nobody ever believed that lie anyway. It's the stupidest lie you could ever tell. But it definitely is put to rest in this chapter. And there are people on the record who are like, no, she told me she Googled him and knew everything about him. Anyway, Suits is done filming for the summer. Corey and Meghan are definitely discussing how they need to end their relationship. Corey's going to need to move out of the house is how it's going to be. And these talks are just going on and on and on. They're continuing to discuss the end of their relationship, says Tom Power. But I mean, what do you mean? How long do y'all have to talk about this? Just do it. Just do it. Neither one of you are over here wondering how you're going to, feed yourself and where your next meal's coming from. Go get a new apartment. All right, so Meghan finally gets herself to London. As agreed, Nelthorpe Cowan had arranged for difficulty-free accommodation in the 5-star Carlton Tower Hotel in Knightsbridge. But the Carlton Hotel had been willing to give her a week's stay if she would publicly promote the hotel on the TIG and on her Instagram and on her Twitter accounts. And she said she would. So this had all been arranged and everyone was thrilled. It had been no trouble really to arrange it. But Nelthorpe Cowan says, my colleague and I walked her to her room at the Carlton, and en route was this parrot sitting in a cage. Meghan looked at this parrot, looked at my colleague, and said, I can't stay here because of the parrot. End scene. Okay. The colleague's description of the scene was a lot more colorful. He said, Meghan went completely ballistic, and it was really unpleasant. The scene that she caused about the parrot. Nelthorpe Cowan has this to say. I realized she was absolutely right, of course. Wild animals belong in the wild, not in cages. She had every right to be disgruntled about the parrot in the cage. All right, well, but what's the deal with all these faux beliefs of Meghan's? All of these pretend causes. She cares so much about the creature in the cage, the parrot. But then why does she not care about the way she treats other people? Wouldn't the way she treats people be more important than the parrot in the cage? I can't stay here because of the parrot. All right. I mean, but what are you going to do about the parrot? You not staying there is not going to free the parrot. So why don't you stay at the hotel and then let people know about the parrot? You're supposed to talk about the hotel anyway. I mean, how is this breaking her decision with them? She told them she would stay, and they gave her a week free. And presumably there's some contract to this decision. She breaks it because of the parrot. How would it have been any different if she'd stayed and highlighted the poor case of the parrot? How is that not breaking contract? Either way, she's breaking contract. So why doesn't she try to help the parrot? I don't know. Whatever. Meghan immediately checked out. So then Nelthorpe Cowan was in a hustle to arrange some other accommodation. And of course, lo and behold, she gets on over to the Soho Hotel. Now, once settled in her room, Meghan deigned to come down for lunch with Nelthorpe Cowan's co-director and a widely respected literary agent named Adrian Sington and his assistant. Weeks earlier, Meghan had asked Sington to draft a synopsis for a proposed book to be written by her based on the TIG. It was to be titled Think Beautiful. And Meghan's purpose was to leverage her brand by promoting the products, restaurants, and places featured on her website to comprehensively help women to better themselves. I find this is the thing that is still crazy to me about lifestyle bloggers. Why should I do everything you're saying? Like, who made you? Who died and made you God? Why in the world is the wine you say best the best? Why should I buy that blanket? Why is that candle? Why? I mean, you think that candle smells great. Maybe it doesn't smell good at all. Maybe it smells like trash. I mean, I don't understand why these people think I should just be over here hustling to buy everything they say. And there's so many lifestyle accounts out there. I just always think, why does your taste precede mine? Why do I need to lay aside what I think because you, with your 1 million followers, say I should do this? And I don't think that I'm trying to just be rebellious on purpose. I just think that I don't understand our need to be told what we like. Can't we just walk into the world and be like, that's beautiful? I like that thing. I want that thing. I will use my money to buy that. Do I need to be trolling, Instagram to find out what I need to like and, what the end thing is? Like, for example, this isn't exactly like that big of a deal. But like right now, and everyone's drinking out of those Stanley mugs. The tall Stanley thing. Why would anybody use that? First of all, that brand has been around. My dad used to have one of those, it was like a workman's mug, like a workman's thermos. Now everybody wants one. Those top-heavy water bottles, every girl in my class has one of those. And they're constantly falling off the desk, spilling water everywhere. They're cumbersome. The poor girls have got their huge backpack and their giant Stanley. And it's just like, why y'all doing that? Why though? That's not even convenient. Anyway, that's an aside. She wants to have this book. Now, Singleton was supposed to be writing this synopsis, and he had. And over the previous months, many at the agency had become wary of their client. They thought Meghan's mood was unpredictable. Regularly, she called the agency to demand they make reservations at hotels or events in anticipation of her arrival in London. But inevitably, she would cancel or change her requirements. During those telephone calls, Singleton was distraught by what he witnessed. He saw one young woman reduced to tears by what she called Meghan's passive-aggressive tone. And again, this is all a precursor to what we know about how she treated the royal staff. So there they are sitting at the lunch. Singleton had witnessed the parrot incident when she threw a complete and total fit about the parrot. And so he was a little bit worried how this lunch was going to go. I mean, they were over here trying to make a good impression. And he didn't know if she could be counted upon to do so. On this occasion, Meghan calmly sat down for his lunch, and he was so relieved, thank God. She said that her metabolism required the right amount of food at the precise time, so she had to eat. But it was clear that she wished she hadn't been there with them. She had to for her metabolism. But to have to sit at the same table as Singleton was something that she just could not handle, and she let him know it. She quietly directed her venom at Singleton because his synopsis contained a proposed chapter called How to Be a Better Woman, and the chapter focused on women's choices to improve her sexual attraction. Meghan, said Singleton, seethed at him. She complained that he had inserted sex into her proposal. But he was shocked at this because Meghan was all the day long she had been talking about sex on the TIG for a little while now. And she had been adding that element in as a way to draw more people into her website. And she was all the time, regularly talking about different potions to take, to enhance your pleasure, and different poses that would secure a man's interest. And all of this, she had done that. Like, all he had done was look at the TIG and then, like, make some chapter outlines that went right along with the content she'd already presented. But oh no, this man had connected her name to the word sex. And he was trying to make her a sexual object. And he was trying to ruin her brand. No, he's not. He's doing the exact same thing you already said. But Meghan was now following a familiar pattern. People had seen her do this many a time. And on this occasion, her anger was directed at the experienced agent. She seemed to delight in humiliating people. It made her feel so good to see somebody wither under her criticism. At the end of the meal, she got up and left abruptly. And Singleton said, she's one of the most unpleasant people we've ever dealt with. By then, Meghan had also told the agency, forget the book and forget him. I never want to be in the same room as him again. And Meghan, that isn't feminism. The man did a job for you. He didn't do anything wrong. You found a reason to be mad at him because he's a man. He didn't say anything different than you said. You said the same things that he said. But because he's a man, he's not allowed to say it. That's not feminism. That's sexism. All right, well, Meghan can't tell the difference, poor thing. Meanwhile, she's over there hustling for that Swiss watch manufacturer again. Finally, they did agree on a promotional contract. She must have worn them down. And the contract, if it was completed, was going to be worth $500,000. That evening, she and Nelthorpe Cowan went out again. Yet again, she's over here talking about Ashley Cole. And Nelthorpe Cowan was like, when are you ever going to get off of this? I mean, it's just like, every time I meet with you, it's this story again. I can't hear any more about it. She didn't understand why Meghan was so taken with Ashley Cole because in a recent GQ magazine, Meghan had explained how a man could impress her with kindness, confidence, and finding the right line between funny and vulgar. She disliked men who spent too long in the bathroom, but she loved how British guys dress for the cold. Again, her requirements for men are random and ill-conceived. But according to Nelthorpe Cowan, Ashley Cole fulfilled few of these requirements. But she was suspicious because it kept coming out that Cole and Meghan had some kind of thing on the side. So she's like, I don't really know why you're so into this guy. But it does seem like it's difficult to quash the rumors that there's something going on. So I don't know. Maybe you guys have found each other. If it doesn't make sense, why you would. Anyway, after she gets done in London, she heads on over to the Mediterranean, where she and Marcus and Jessica Mulrooney and Misha Nonu are all together going on a little vacation. And this set, they were all kindred spirits. They just constantly were over there trying to figure out how could they ingratiate themselves with the upper crust. Meghan wanted so much to live a thrilling public life in which she was hounded by the media, and she spent her entire life jet-setting from one exciting event to the next. But in reality, Meghan's day-to-day life was utterly conventional. There was no danger, no risk, no threat to her survival. She was not part of a notable set. Her life was a performance to a limited audience on a tiny stage. Part of the crowd, she passed through air terminals, taxis, and hotels in almost complete anonymity. Her problems were familiar to all unknown unmarried actors in the mid-30s. Fear of loneliness and personal and financial insecurity. A very sad life. And whatever it was that she did let us glimpse about her was so unremarkable that it didn't beg the desire to be told more. The impression that she gave to everybody was a person who was completely satisfied with herself. There was nothing more for her to learn. And that lack of curiosity extended to any intellectual interests. She didn't read anything, she didn't watch anything, she didn't know anything, she wasn't curious about anything. And it showed on the TIG. Everything was so superficial. The TIG never hinted at any intellectual curiosity or a hinterland. And the biggest influence on her life so far appears to have been the character Aaron Korsh created, Rachel Zane, an ambitious, fluent, sexy, shallow fashionista with a passion for food. That's stunning that you wouldn't be more curious about the world you live in. And it seems unbelievably dull to continue to sort of doggy paddle in the pool of your own self-interest. Nothing interesting. Nothing. It's all so superficial. On this vacation, she learned that Misha Nonu, the one who had married Andrew Gilks. You remember the woman who she had met, who said she liked to take sound baths, and she had, some equally weird sentiments about the way she liked to conduct herself? Well, Misha Nonu's marriage was on the rocks, as Meghan found out on this little vacation that she took with Marcus and Jessica Mulrooney. And Misha had discovered the shortcomings of being among British's upper classes. Although Alexander Gilks claimed friendships with Princes William and Harry, Princess Eugenie, and Madonna, his financial acumen was unimpressive. His business was unprofitable. And Nonu feared that any divorce settlement would stipulate her paying him money. This is not what she had bargained for. And I have to say, how was that a surprise to you? Did you marry this man knowing absolutely nothing about him except that he went to Eton with William and Harry? Because how could you get married to a person and then find out, oh wait, his business isn't making any money. Oh, he actually doesn't have any money and his connections aren't that grand. How was this a shock at all? I'm more shocked the fact that she's shocked. Meghan was also witnessing perils of finance. Her dad was slipping rapidly into a debtor's hole. His credit card debt is soaring. He owes all kinds of money in taxes. She needs to find a husband before her dad starts knocking at her door because he is just a liability. Finding Meghan a suitable Englishman became a pressing issue. And in her conversations with Nonu, she realized that if she played her cards right, she might actually be able to meet Prince Harry. Because though Gilks didn't know very much about how to run a business, he did have famous friends who could lead her right into the arms of Prince Harry. And Harry began to come up in the conversation more and more. Nonu says she'd met him through Gilks, and that Harry was certainly eligible. But the thing is, he was known as being pretty feckless with women, so did Meghan really want to get involved? Of course she does. She's over here making, gunning for Ashley Cole. Harry would be quite a step up. She meets again with Lizzie Cundy. I don't know why she thought Lizzie Cundy was going to be this big in for her. But again, she spent the entire time talking about how she's still gunning for that Englishman, the everlasting subject that never dies whenever she goes to England. Now, Meghan had been hired to wear Ralph Lauren during a Wimbledon fortnight. And at this event, she ends up making the connection that will be what propels her to Prince Harry. She'd been hired to wear Ralph Lauren, and who should be working as a publicist for Ralph Lauren but Violet von Westenholz, who was a well-connected 31-year-old socialite. Her father, Piers, who was an interior decorator and an antique dealer, was an old friend of Prince Charles' wife, Camilla. And because Harry had grown up with Violet, Violet said she could make an introduction. She ended up sending pictures of Meghan to Harry and asking Harry if he would be interested in being set up with Meghan. Absolutely, he was interested. Now, also on this visit, she ends up getting to meet Piers Morgan. She'd arranged to meet him. She wanted to because he has influence. And they had exchanged some Twitter messages, and then they ended up going out to eat at Piers Morgan's favorite pub, Scarsdale Tavern. And according to all accounts, this initial conversation was not unpleasant. Piers said she was lovely. She wanted to be invited to Good Morning Britain, his television show, and, you know, he said, oh, that'd be fun, but he didn't commit to it. He just said, oh, we'll have to think about that, you know, that sort of thing. She was off, and he had no idea who she was going to meet on that very visit to London. Only in hindsight, Tom Bauer writes, did Piers realize that she would be ultimately heading for an audition demanding her most compelling performance. Soon after, in remarkably colorful language, Harry approved von Westenholt's suggestion of meeting Meghan. I wish we knew what that remarkably colorful language was. I don't know. I'm sure I could hunt it down. Meghan asked Marcus Anderson to reserve a private room at London Soho House for just such a meeting. Prior to her meeting with Harry, Nelthorpe Cowan had said, hey, we need to meet for lunch. I can give you an update on what's going on with my trying to launch your career here in London. They met for lunch, and Nelthorpe Cowan was scared to tell Meghan that she really hadn't been able to secure her anything of note. But Meghan was uninterested, and this shocked Nelthorpe Cowan. This wasn't the Meghan she knew. Meghan was always very upset if she felt that Gina had not come through for her. Meghan was all distracted by something else. She leaned in and she said that she was going on a date tonight. Who with? Asked Gina. She couldn't hear the reply because Meghan whispered so quietly she had to ask Meghan to repeat what she'd said. And when she did, Nelthorpe Cowan was incredulous. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but I think she could hardly believe it either. We were both extremely excited. I jokingly asked if she knew what she was letting herself in for, and she said, well, it's going to be an experience, and at least it'll be a fun night. Gazing at her client, Nelthorpe Cowan said, I looked at how stunning she was, and I just thought, there's no way he's going to be able to resist her. As Meghan carried on whispering with excitement, Nelthorpe Cowan interrupted, do you know what you're doing? Do you know anything about him? Who does she think she's dealing with? Meghan replied, I've Googled Harry. I've gone deeply into his life. And I think that that is way more honest than anything else that she'd ever say later, because to not have looked into Harry would have been to deny who she is as a human being. When has she not meticulously planned every step of her career? Right? Because nothing that she's done thus far would show that she goes into something blind. Never. She's always, got 7 steps ahead, planned out. So for her to meet a prince that her friends have told her about, and for her not to be like, I think I'll Google that, that doesn't even vibe with anything she's ever done in her life thus far. On any scale, everything that she does is planned out. She's a type A person. I mean, it's not like she would ever just be like, I just will go and just see how the spirit leads. Never. Nelthorpe Cowan was left in no doubt that Meghan had carefully researched every aspect of Harry in his past life. She understood precisely the man she was meeting. Needy, volatile, unhappy, and seeking a soulmate. Oh, and Meghan was coming to play that part, wasn't she? She was going to fill every hole, because although she believed that the sentiment, I complete you, isn't right for everyone, it certainly will be right for Harry. I understood where she was coming from, Nelthorpe Cowan recalled. Her dream of bagging a prince was even written in one of her old blogs. At Kate's wedding to Prince William in 2011, Meghan had written, little girls dream of being princesses, and grown women seem to retain this childhood fantasy. Just look at the pomp and circumstance surrounding the royal wedding and endless conversations about Princess Kate. Nelthorpe Cowan left the restaurant with one thought. Meghan is dreaming big. Well, Meghan seems to have an ability to dream and then make it happen. So in the next two chapters that we're going to do, because I'm going to combine 2 more chapters, we're going to talk about the troubled prince. And that chapter is a lot of background information on the royal family, but I do like Tom Bauer's take on it. It's a lot more fleshed out than obviously anything we got from Spare. But what's interesting is, I don't think that it's just very interesting the take that he has on Harry and on William and on Charles. I've heard it said that Tom Bauer is kind of scathing of Charles. I didn't necessarily get the sense that he was scathing about him. Not glowing, but not scathing either. He just states the facts on Charles. William, I think I was more surprised by some of the things he had to say about William, although probably true things. He does talk, well, I'll leave that for next time. And then I thought that he was he's just very forthright about every individual involved. And he, I think, shows both facets to everybody's personality in a really positive way. And I really like the way he approaches every member of the family. The next episode we do, though, on this chapter might be a little redundant for some of you who know so much about the royal history, because what we're getting is ultimately a history about Harry. I mean, so you already know who his parents are, you know that they're divorced, you know that Camilla was involved, you know that he went to Eton, you know that he was kind of not very bright, you know, so a lot of that stuff might be, I already know. But it is interesting. Tom Bower's take on it is very interesting. And then we talk about the actual catch. That's the next, the second chapter we'll talk about, is the actual meeting and the way Meghan's relationship with Nelthorpe Cowan disintegrates rapidly once she doesn't need that assistance in London anymore to get a standing, and to get a career. Now that she sees that she's made her own way in the world, what does she need Gina for? She doesn't need Gina, and she's not interested in Gina, and she doesn't want Gina. And she does the same thing to Gina that she did to her childhood friend, where as soon as she can see that the end is near and that her goal is near, she closes up shop on that friendship. And she becomes very cold and very steely, and she will no longer confide. And so remember, that's how she built up friendships with people, is to do this faux vulnerable thing where she pretends like she's telling you things, and she pretends that you guys are having a moment together. And then as soon as she gets what she wants, she becomes very cold and steely and like, leave me alone. We don't have anything to talk about. Stop getting in my business. She's shockingly rude to Gina in the next section. So you look forward to that. Okay, this video has been long, but it was good talking to you, and I will see you again at the next episode.